when I'm talking about Nick Castellanos, is 1 for his last 29, 2 for his last 33, 3 for his last 36, 4 for his last 39.
One player in particular that has really struggled over the last couple of months, and that is Nick Castellanos.
If the Phillies had one glaring issue as they head towards the MLB playoffs for the 4th consecutive year, it is their inconsistent offense, which always seems to go cold when it matters most. If I had to pinpoint one player who is the lead culprit in all of this, that player would be none other than Nick Castellanos. Ever since putting on the Phillies pinstripes, Castellanos has been the center of mixed opinions and controversy. Today, we will be taking a deep dive into Nick Castellanos and where he stands with the Philadelphia Phillies going into this playoff run. Drop a like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all things Philly sports. On March 22, 2022, Nick Castellanos signed with the Philadelphia Phillies on a 5-year, $100 million contract. This deal made a lot of sense. He was coming off a career year with the Reds where he hit .309 with an OPS of .939 and crushed 34 home runs and 100 RBIs. These were great power numbers for the right-handed hitter going into free agency, and the Phillies obviously liked what they saw. Castellanos got off to a hot start with the team in 2022, but he quickly fell back down to earth and had a pretty miserable season. His final numbers consisted of a .263 batting average, .694 OPS, and 13 home runs for a supposed power hitter in this lineup. With numbers like this, you would expect the guy to be a great fielder. Instead, Casty was a liability in the field. Even though he didn't make a single error in 2022, he ranked in the 4th percentile in outs above average and the 12th percentile in arm value. The eye test showed that he was horrific trying to track fly balls out there, and it was pretty miserable to watch. He did save Game 1 of the 2022 World Series with his glove, however, so I will give him that. Nick Castellanos swung at 57% of all pitches thrown to him in 2022, which easily was the highest mark in the majors that season. This was his main issue. He couldn't lay off sliders away and out of the zone. He consistently swung at the first pitch as well. It was fitting that he was the final out of the Phillies in the 2022 World Series against the Astros. He was atrocious hitting-wise in the playoffs with a .185 average, .478 OPS, and 18 strikeouts in 65 at-bats. 2023 was a new chance for Nick Castellanos to get back on track and start to earn his worth for that $100 million contract. This was ultimately a better season for Castellanos. He wasn't back to his 2021 form, but he was taking steps in the right direction. His percentile numbers were up in most categories, and his stats went up as well. He hit .272 with an OPS of .788, even being named an All-Star for his good play that season. He was just shy of 30 home runs with 29, and it was starting to look like his power numbers were coming back. The main problem with Casty is that his chase numbers were still really bad, as he was in the 2nd percentile of chase percentage and the 5th percentile in whiff percentage. These numbers made it very frustrating to watch him at times. When the playoffs came, fans questioned if Castellanos could keep up his hitting. He started hot. After the Phillies made it back to the NLDS to face the Braves for his 2nd consecutive year, Castellanos went ballistic in the 2 games at home, hitting 4 home runs in that 2-game span, propelling the Phillies to another NLCS appearance. In the NLCS against the Diamondbacks, Castellanos hit a home run in his first at-bat of the series. Things were looking great for the right-hander, and he finally was proving the doubters wrong. But after this NLCS home run, he went hitless for the remainder of the series, playing a huge part in this historic Phillies offensive collapse. He went completely cold at the exact wrong time, and he was one of the main reasons the Phillies couldn't get anything going offensively that series, as he was hitting in the middle of the order. Many overlooked this offensive disaster because of his strong NLDS and regular season, but he would have to make major improvements going into 2024. 2024 was definitely better than 2022, but it was a step down from his offensive performance in 2023. He improved a little bit on his chase and whiff rates, but his power numbers decreased. In playing all 162 games for the first time in his career, Castellanos only hit 23 home runs with 86 RBIs as a middle-of-the-order hitter. These numbers are okay, but they are very mediocre compared to the contract he signed before 2022. They were very average, and the Phillies could have found a way cheaper replacement player. Castellanos performed really well in the 2024 playoff run against the Mets when every single other Phillies bat went cold. He went 7 for 17 with an OPS of .1059. He was the lone bright spot in a lineup that went cold in the playoffs for a 3rd consecutive season. Still, even with this good playoff run for Castellanos, fans wanted the Phillies to consider trading him in the offseason. Going into 2025, everyone understood that the time was now for Castellanos to contribute consistently. He got off to a great start at the beginning of the year, but when summer hit, Nick Castellanos ran into a brick wall. At the end of June, he was hitting .282 on the season with a .776 OPS. These are very respectable numbers for him. But on August 15th, his season numbers dropped significantly. His average went down to .253 with an OPS of .695. In the month of August, he hit .180 with a .510 OPS. These are terrible numbers by someone the Phillies only signed for his bat. His fielding has been terrible in 2025. He ranks in the first percentile for outs above average and the 30th percentile in arm value. He is the worst ball tracker out in right field, and he looks clueless out there. Rob Thompson gave him the longest leash possible, but I think we are finally at the point where the trust to keep Castellanos in the lineup is gone. Max Kepler, who struggled a lot early in the year, has been great ever since the trade deadline. In his last 30 games, Kepler is hitting .269 with an OPS of .780. His fielding isn't great, but it's a huge step up from Castellanos. He also looks better in his natural position of right field instead of left. The point is, Kepler has been playing way better than Castellanos for the last couple of months, so he has been getting the nod as the starting right fielder. Nick Castellanos has been playing so poorly this year that he has been demoted to a $100 million bench bat. Now we have a problem. I don't know about you guys, but having somebody who makes $20 million a year playing mostly off the bench is not ideal. It gets better when you realize he still has one more season under contract in red pinstripes. The Phillies have to do something about him. Before we get into the offseason plan for him, let's address the 2025 playoffs. The Phillies are looking to avoid their fourth consecutive offensive disaster this season, and playing Castellanos in the playoffs won't help with that. They tend to lean on him when left-handed pitchers are on the mound, but he isn't much better against lefties than he is against righties. His average is 4 points lower against lefties, while his OPS is only 5 points higher. It makes no sense to start him at all. I think the Phillies should eliminate the platoons when the playoffs start. The outfield look should be Brandon Marsh in left, Harrison Bader in center, and Max Kepler in right. These guys give you the best chance to win no matter who is on the mound. Castellanos can take some at-bats off the bench if needed, but he should never play in the field because he puts the defense at risk whenever he's out there. One of the main issues with Castellanos is that he is not the greatest team player when it comes to being benched like this. We have heard a lot of commotion in the media that Castellanos is not happy with his new role. This makes sense. Why would a player be happy about getting benched? But the main issue is he looks checked out. He doesn't seem to be playing as hard as he normally would. Even if this isn't intentional, it probably isn't, he's still hurting the team every time he goes out on the field. I loved Castellanos, but he is a true liability for the Phillies. Now we can start thinking about where to go from here with Nick Castellanos. According to Bob Nightingale, the Phillies want to trade Castellanos this offseason and are willing to eat a portion of his contract. I'm on board with this. I think after all the events that happened this season, this was Casty's final straw. I think what Castellanos needs is a change of scenery. It obviously was a tough time in Philadelphia, and he had some great ups, but a lot of downs as well. Trading him to a team that is in need of a DH makes a lot of sense. With Kyle Schwarber, the Phillies are in no need of a DH, so Castellanos never really fit. If all he has to do is worry about hitting, I think we will see major improvements in Castellanos' game. That's why I want him on the bench for the playoffs to come in for pinch hit opportunities. Bottom line is that the Phillies want to maximize their lineup both offensively and defensively. Castellanos has to go this offseason. It will be better for both parties involved. At the end of the day, Nick Castellanos is a symbol of what the Phillies have struggled with most during this era: inconsistency. For every hot streak where he looks like the all-star slugger he once was in Cincinnati, there are twice as many stretches where he disappears completely. Philadelphia fans have been through enough of these offensive collapses in October to know that having a streaky hitter like him isn't going to get us to where we want to be. I want to know what you guys think. Is Nick Castellanos going to prove me wrong and become the player he once was and help bring the Phillies to the promised land? Or is he going to go out on a low note and struggle for the remainder of the season? On the other hand, do you think this is the last season for him in Philadelphia, and will the Phillies try to trade him in the offseason? Or will he play out his contract and play here for one more season? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I hope for the best for Nick Castellanos. He is a great guy who has had some historic moments here, but I think his time is coming to an end. I hope he finishes strong, but I don't know how much left he has for the Philadelphia Phillies. Make sure to drop a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all things Philly sports. Hit the notification bell to never miss an upload or stream. Click right here if you want to watch my more recent videos on Andrew Painter, and click right here if you want to watch some of my other Phillies videos. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.